Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bems.
And this is Ace. And this is Serving Up the Tea, episode 6. So, Bems, what's tea?
Tea, for me today, there's a lot of it. And it's all about Nick Kyrgios. So I've often said that I love Nick Kyrgios. Like, you could never make me hate him. That's my guy. He's just misunderstood. But he's done a couple of things recently that has me questioning, like, is he misunderstood or is he just not nice? Most of tennis doesn't like him because he has a pretty bad attitude. He doesn't behave in the typical gentlemanly way, which, as I've mentioned before, I think sometimes tennis can be a bit strict on people about how they express themselves. Like with like Ben Shelton and stuff, they want him to like tone it down or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely on the conservative side.
Yeah. In 2021, he had an argument with his then girlfriend, where I think they were having an argument and he was trying to leave, but she was like trying to block the door to his Uber because she didn't want him to leave. She was like trying to get him to calm down and stay. He pushed her to the ground. He ended up pleading guilty. He appealed for the assault charge to be removed under the grounds of mental health, but that was rejected by the court. But then ultimately the judge dismissed the charge, accepting that the seriousness of the matter was low level, so the conviction was not recorded. Ever since then, a lot of tennis fans have not really liked him because I think it was like evidence of like, see, it's not just his on-court attitude. He's a bad guy. Like, he's a violent guy. And then a couple years before that, in 2015, he had an on-court controversy with Wawrinka when Wawrinka was dating Donna Vekic. Kyrgios and Wawrinka were playing a match at, I think, the Roger Cup. After Kyrgios lost the first set tiebreak, he was walking back to his chair and he said to Wawrinka, "Kokkinakis banged your girlfriend. Sorry to tell you that, mate." Tahanasi Kokkinakis is Kyrgios.
He's such a menace.
Is Kyrgios' doubles partner. He didn't stop there. He continued and told Wawrinka that your girlfriend is banging an 18-year-old. Wawrinka eventually had to withdraw from the match. I think in the third set he was down love 4. He withdrew with a back injury. And he got on Twitter after and was like, he gave like a whole spiel. He was like, "Oh, what was said I wouldn't say to my worst enemy. Like, I didn't really like that at all. It was horrible. We need to get back to like tennis being good." Da, da, da. Even, it was like a big uproar, obviously, because what he said was very out of pocket, very nuts. Even like Victoria Azarenka tweeted like, "At least walk away from the microphone," because he literally like said it like into the mic. Ultimately, the ATP fined him $10,000, but ever since then, everyone's just like, yeah, it was such like a disparaging comment to make about Donna Vekic. I think she then made a statement like she's just trying to focus on her tennis, but she didn't think that was cool at all, but didn't deny sleeping with Kokkinakis. So that was something that Nick Kyrgios brought up again later. Oh, then when he was interviewed about it, he was like, he doesn't know what he said. It was heat of the moment. Da, da, da. He knew exactly what he said. But anyway, that was all in 2015 and 2021. Now, today in 2024, in the present time, he used to date Yannick Sinner's girlfriend.
Yeah, back in like 2020.
Yeah, it's been described as brief but intense. I think from 2019 to 2020. And there's like a bunch of pictures of them. They were like dating. Like that was his gal. He's also been super outspoken about Sinner's doping allegations, even though Sinner has been cleared by like all accounts. He keeps saying that like it's completely ridiculous. There's obviously something going on. It's like unfair. And so when he was doing that, Sinner fans and then some tennis trolls kept bringing up Kalinskaya as the reason that he was doing that. The final straw came when he like posted like a poll, because obviously he's doing commentating for ESPN. He's doing on-court interviews, post-match stuff. He's been in his commentating bag for a while now. He posted a poll ahead of the men's final being like, who do you think will win, Fritz or Sinner? A troll responds to that poll with a picture of Kyrgios and Kalinskaya together. And Kyrgios responds to that picture and says, "Second serve."
What was he trying to say? Like that Yannick Sinner is getting the second serve?
Yes.
Okay. Like sloppy seconds type of thing.
I think that's what he's saying. Yeah. Your second serve is never going to be as good as your first serve. I don't really know what he was trying to like. I don't know the technicalities behind it, but he was basically insinuating that like been there, had that kind of vibe. And then again, uproar. People are like, he should be pulled off the air. This is wrong. They're not watching the finals if ESPN doesn't take him off air. I wasn't in the States for either of the finals, so I don't know if he was on air or not, because I was watching the world feed and not the ESPN feed. So I have no idea if he was on air or if they actually took him off.
I don't know that he was on air, but I'm not sure that they took him off, because I knew that they would never let him do on court with Yannick Sinner. Like, that's asking for more controversy, given the fact that he's been, on
So
Sinner's case
outspoken.
about the drug test. Yeah. So I don't think the producers would ever choose him for that. I don't know. I think if they did take him off, they would keep it quiet, just so it's like it blows over.
Yeah.
Do you know Nick Kyrgios? He received the highest fine ever in the ATP in 2019 in Cincinnati. He was fined $113,000 in his clash with Karen Khachanov.
What was the fine for?
Bad boy. That's when he called the chair umpire a fucking tool and left the court without permission to smash 2 rackets and came back on court with the rackets in hand.
Nikki,
He's actually a menace.
Nikki.
No, but do you know who has the second highest fine in all time? Serena Williams. In 2009, she told the line judge, after calling a foot fault on her, "I'll take this ball and shove it down your throat."
What?
So that one was $82,500. And then
"I'll take this ball and shove it down your throat" is insane.
Is very violent. But Serena went through some things on the court.
Yeah, no, I think hers is trauma response.
Literally, like, trauma responses. But that fine was also paired with a match-ending point penalty. So, unfortunate.
For Serena? Or Cincinnati? Kyrgios?
Yeah. For Serena, that was U.S. Open semifinal in 2009 against Kim Clijsters.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Kyrgios, it's starting to seem like he has mentioned that he struggles with mental health, right? He gave a statement even after his issue with the abuse trial, saying that he was in a really, really bad place mentally, which is why I think I always had a bit of sympathy for him, because I was just like, yeah, I mean, I get it. It seems like a very intense couples dispute. I don't ever think it's appropriate for a man to put his hands on a woman regardless. Like, I think that he shouldn't have done that. And I think he knows he shouldn't have done that. And I think for me, because he expressed remorse, he pled guilty. He wasn't like, oh, that never happened. I don't know what you guys are talking about. He said, "I respect today's ruling. I'm grateful to the court for dismissing the charges without conviction." And then he said he was not in a good place when it happened. He reacted to a difficult situation in a way he deeply regrets. That mental health is tough. Life can be overwhelming, but he's getting help, and working on himself has helped him to feel better and be better. Obviously, of course, that could be like a PR statement, but I think just like the willingness to be like, hey, I did this thing that was wrong. I'm not going to like deny it or pretend that it never happened, was for me like, okay, cool. Let's see how he like behaves in the future. But this recent slight at Kalinskaya, I don't really think that was fair or appropriate.
He's just a bit of a tool. Like, it's kind of...
he's an asshole.
Just unpleasant.
He's an asshole.
Like, that's your ex. Leave it in the past.
He's so talented, though, so it's frustrating. He's so talented.
One of the funniest things is that there was an interview, I think it was him, Bublik, and another ATP player, and they were talking about how long they spent warming up before coming on the court. Bublik was like, he does like a full round in the gym, and then he'll like hit a bit on an outer court or something. So in total, like an hour and a half. Kyrgios was like, he kind of just walks on court.
I believe it.
And just raw dogs the court. Like, that's
no,
insane.
I fully believe it. I fully believe it. He can do that. He's so talented.
I feel like if he locks in, like how Tommy Paul locked in after just being a super talented player but not really taking their training and the discipline seriously, he would be so dangerous on tour. Like, I feel like he would get his Grand Slam win. He's made it to finals. So just a matter of discipline
and focus. But anyway, that's my tea. It's just, I need to figure out my feelings on it. But it was interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
What's tea for you?
What's tea for me? So, I mean, it's been an eventful few weeks. But one thing that stood out to me is that, you know, we spoke about Kunwen Zhang and how Emma Navarro had those choice words for her at the net. And then again, when she lost to Sabalenka at the US Open, you could see she was kind of cold and it wasn't really a gracious loser's handshake at the net. And I know we stuck up for her and we were like, oh, it could be just like cultural differences. But now I'm changing my mind. It looks like she might be a sore loser.
So here's the thing, though. She said, should I be happy when I lose? She asked you guys. You've seen the Nike commercial. She said it.
She said, can I be happy with number 2 when I need to be number 1? And maybe she just is standing on that. Like, don't be happy with y'all bitches until y'all are...
Sabalenka, like, was trying her best not to laugh in her face. Because she saw how upset she was and she found it so funny. And that's how I think that's how you're supposed to react to stuff like that. Don't internalize it and make it like a whole thing. Just like, it is what it is. Like, every player has their own process. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really get what Navarro, again, like, what did Navarro want from her? Navarro was the sore loser in that scenario.
I also don't think everyone has to be the most gracious loser. It's lovely and it's great that people like Tiafoe and who else is super gracious?
Tiafoe's a little too gracious.
Right?
He's a little too gracious.
But at least he did well this US Open. I mean, another person who be sour as hell is Ostapenko, and we just accept that that's Ostapenko. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the time she approached the net to Azarenka and basically extended the racket over the net. That was the handshake right there. She's mad.
It's very ridiculous. But yeah, when it comes to Zhang, like, I don't know. I don't think she's a sore loser. I think she doesn't like to lose. A sore loser for me is someone who is now making excuses, or like, a sore loser is someone who could never credit the other person with their game when they've lost. A sore loser is someone who's like, you know, being nasty. I don't think she was nasty. I think she was disappointed that she lost. Yeah. You know, I think she came into the match thinking she could beat Sabalenka and found out very quickly that she couldn't.
She couldn't, and Sabalenka had that smirk on her face. I was like, girl.
No, that was really funny. Honestly, not like on a bandwagon vibe. I'm starting to really like Sabalenka because
she's grown on me.
Like, yeah, she's really grown on me. She's really grown on me.
She's my cousin's favorite player.
She is. And you know what? She is also the first. She keeps sending me Sabalenka content, Sabalenka fan cams, Sabalenka stuff.
We need Babs on the pod.
Yeah. We need to bring her on for a Sabalenka
special.
She is growing on me. Like, I think in a field where most people are introverted, are like to themselves, are like not as expressive, especially in the top, right? In the top, obviously there's people that are expressive and stuff, but like the top players are all kind of like chilled. It's nice to see someone that's like so out there, so themselves, having fun. It's like, it's cute. Like, do your thing.
Stealing people's husbands on TikTok.
like I love it. I love it.
She had that red dress sitting in the locker room. Like, the look was put together.
Cute. It was very
She looked really good.
She did. So yeah, that's, I guess, tea for us. There was a lot of stuff that happened though in this 2 weeks of US Open, but the most important part is that we went.
Ooh, third round, baby.
Yeah. So I went first round, second round, and both days of third round. First round was funny because I was sitting at home in New York and I was like, wait, Naomi Osaka is playing today. Like, what am I doing? I was with my brother's fiance. And she was like, no, you should definitely go. I was like, I should go, right? She's like, yeah, do it. So like, I like found the ticket. She checked out for me. I ran upstairs, showered, threw something on it, like literally ran out the house. It was actually a great ticket. Collins was on, Osaka was on, Medvedev was on Louis Armstrong. And I got there in time to see 2 sets of Collins as well. So it was great. Yeah, it was cool. I liked the Honey Deuces. That was a good experience. I really enjoyed those.
I like that I had a good connect, and so my honey deuces were like all double and triple shot.
She had a heavy pour. Yeah. But
I
anyway,
never thought I'd like vodka until then.
Vodka's actually smooth to me. I know everybody like really, really likes tequila, but I'm not a big drinker in general though, but vodka's cool, especially for cocktails. Like, you don't really taste it. I feel like it's probably best for cocktails. I will say, no, like results and like matches aside, in terms of general experience, now that I've been to 3 of the 4 Grand Slams, I don't foresee myself going to Australian Open in like the near future. It's just so far away, and they have really big spiders there. But of the 3, I would say the French Open is probably my favorite. US Open is cool, but it's too many people, I think. Like, when I sat on Arthur Ashe, I was like, I don't think this many people are supposed to be here. Like, it's too many people.
Yeah, you said you were like, big. There's not meant to be this many people watching tennis. Like, the court is too small
for this many people to be in here. It's never actually quiet. Like, it wasn't the same experience, I feel. I love the hard court though, and like watching them whack that ball. It's nice to see that like pace of play. But I actually preferred the matches or the experience I had on Louis Armstrong to Arthur Ashe. Not gonna lie. I think because it was smaller. So it's time for some match point musings. Let me tell you something, actually. Remember we were talking about utilizing technology, and I said, oh, the US Open is introducing video review. It wasn't on all the courts. It was on some of the courts. And it's not for in or out line calls. It's for things such as if there's an extra bounce, or if a player was hindered, or if a ball went off of someone's racket and landed first on that player's side, or going over the net, or like fault calls and stuff. I just wanted to say that because I feel like I misspoke last time. With Hawkeye and ELC, there are no challenges for the player. So the video reviews can only be asked for in the cases of
not up and let.
Not exactly.
And all these other things.
Hindrances.
Yeah, so I think I did a little bit of reading on that. I mean, 2020, the pandemic really pushed the US Open to have like less line judges. And so I think 250 line judges lost their jobs because they implemented electronic line calling and Hawkeye on all but 2 courts. And so all the fault and out calls that you hear are just recordings of line judges' voices. But the umpire still has to make the other calls, like not up, let, etc. And so those are the ones, like you said, that the players can challenge with the video review. I mean, they say that Hawkeye is like 100% or like 99% correct. So in the case that it's not, it's just going to be so rare. I mean, Ostapenko would say differently. She questions Hawkeye at every single chance she gets.
And sometimes she's right. It's so funny.
Sometimes she's right. And I don't know how it works because everybody else seems to get along fine with Hawkeye except for her. But it's the way she plays.
So we spoke about the people that we thought it was good. They were getting wild cards last time. Andreescu, Anisimova, Osaka, Eubanks, Thiem, and Wawrinka. All of them, except for Osaka, were out in round 1.
Yeah,
Wawrinka actually was out in round 1 to a qualifier, and then Osaka herself was out in round 2. So
I was most disappointed about Anisimova because she just had a good run, so I thought she was really feeling like this hard court season, but I think she had a tough first round draw.
Yeah, it was young, so there wasn't a...
Yeah, there was no chance there, really.
Andreescu had Paolini. Thiem had Shelton. Osaka had Ostapenko first round, but she won.
I would say Andreescu's a very gracious loser because after that loss, she was like kind of just laughing about it. She knew like that's a tough first round draw to have. So
Yeah. I actually don't like when players laugh about losses. I don't think it's funny. Like at all, actually.
okay.
Like I don't think that's funny.
I
Um
mean, at some point you have to laugh because how many times as a tennis player are you losing? Like, you can't be sad every time, especially when you're kind of on the comeback trajectory. You gotta laugh it off or be able to at least, like, I don't know.
ha ha ha. Talking about first round defeats. Collins was out to
That was
Dolehide. That was
disappointing.
tough. Not more disappointing than Sloane Stevens though. I think that Sloane Stevens needs to let her head together and let us know that she is switching full time to being a tennis influencer and Instagram baddie, because the actual playing of the tennis,
Yeah.
a 6-love, 3-love lead, served for the match in both the second and third sets.
It was hard to watch. I actually watched that one because, I'm a Sloane fan. I love all the stuff that she's doing off the court. She's kind of switching into like mogul mode. She's made a lot of money off of tennis and she's kind of putting that into business, which I like for her. But like you said, at some point there needs to be a clear cut, like, we're switching over to this new focus. Instead of like these disappointing losses where she's holding it together really well and we could see how talented she is. We could see that she's a great player and then she kind of just lets it go.
Yeah. Third straight tournament that she dropped her opening match. Did the same thing in Washington at the City Open, did the same thing in Toronto at the National Bank Open. Like, be a commentator. Do what Kyrgios and Eubanks are doing. I think she'd be so good. She has so much personality. She knows
And
the
she's
sport.
so, like you said, personality, but like also eloquence and like just able to relate to a lot of people,
For sure.
which most people
Eubanks,
can't.
by the way, I don't think had any plans of getting through the first round because he had a whole lineup of commentating for ESPN. How was he going to be doing that if he was made a deep run?
I don't know.
ESPN had him booked, honey. He had no plans. Zero plans. Zero plans of getting further to the first round. I saw him on court every other day. I was like, sir, so if you were playing, what would you be doing?
He definitely was in a suit.
Literally suited and booted.
I just want to say I also like that Christopher Eubanks pulled up in like full suits to do his reporting and Kyrgios still pulling up in basketball jerseys.
And
Just
hoodies.
classic. And hoodies.
Tsitsipas lost in the first round as well. Rune lost in the first round as well. Tsitsipas and Rune, I think, need to take some time off. They don't seem like they are where they need to be at all.
I mean, Rune is not settled, and we can tell because his coaching seems to be in and out here and there.
The thing is that the
Mm-hmm.
entire time he's been going in and out with these coaches, he's been working with his longtime coach, and his mom has been there the whole time. So I think he just needs to like take some time off and refocus. Tsitsipas obviously is not in the right place at all. He himself said that he's nothing compared to the player that he was before. It's not something that he's not aware of. He's very aware of it. This is his third time he's lost in the opening round of the US Open. He's actually never made it past the third round. It's not somewhere he typically does very well, but I think it's just showing that he is not in the best place. He's working, I think, with the Davis Cup Greek coach while he waits for a permanent coach outside of his dad because he fired him. But yeah.
I mean, on the other end of things, his partner Paula Badosa is having like quite a resurgence. She won a 500 level tournament during this hardcore season, and then she did pretty well in this U.S. Open, considering at the beginning of the season she had like what we thought was going to be a career-ending injury. Another guy who's on his comeback but like couldn't even make it past round one is Riley Opelka, who's like a U.S. favorite.
I wasn't expecting him to go anywhere at all. He couldn't even beat Ben Shelton. He's been serving matches where he has like 1,000 aces in the match and then he can't win it.
You can't actually play the tennis.
Like, why are you being called a serve bot if the serve is not helping you? Please give it up. That's the boy that they said is Venus's boyfriend.
Opelka?
Yeah, there's like a big lore about him and Venus like secretly dating for years. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't think it's
Not
true,
them
but
having
it's so
secret
funny.
dinners.
Yeah, people are like convinced. Round 2 was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Osaka lost to Muhova. Um, she's actually lost in
Tough
round 2
one.
in the last 3 slams she's been in. But to be fair, round 2 Roland Garros, it was against Swiatek. Round 2 Wimbledon, it
Mm-hmm.
was against Navarro, who was in crazy form at Wimbledon, if you remember. And then US Open was Muhova, who is such a tricky player. Like, it's not at all like playing Ostapenko. Muhova has way more like craft. You know what I mean? Like, she's just a tricky one. She's like a cat. Like, she's just tricky. She has
It
so much
really is.
variety and a lot of self-belief as well. She doesn't panic. So that was a tough match. But after the match, Naomi said, I do take these losses really personally. It's like a dramatic word, but I feel like my heart dies every time I lose.
See, that's what you can't be doing. That's why you need to be able to bring some like.
She was also happy in her presser, though. She said that, like, she knows it's ironic that she hasn't made it to the final, like, yet since her
Mm-hmm.
comeback, but she still fully believes she can win these tournaments. So, like, she just thinks it's going to click, but it's just not clicking now. She thinks it's a matter of
Yeah.
timing.
She also
So,
spoke about how motherhood has changed her body, so it's like taking her a while to get just comfortable in herself physically, and like
yeah. She mentioned she could, like, barely walk.
I'm hoping it clicks. I think it will.
Do you know what didn't click?
Oh,
Carlos Alcaraz in round 2 of the US Open,
I mean,
where he
he
has won
said,
before. He loses in
mm-hmm.
straight sets to Botic van der Schanschlop, who, by the way, was considering retirement earlier this year.
And
Like,
now he might be thinking differently.
he had not won consecutive tour level matches. Like, he was like, you know what, this tennis thing might not be for me. And then beats Carlos in straight sets. The funniest part of that match, actually, because there wasn't many
Mm-hmm.
things funny about it, is Carlos's coach, like, at a point when, like, Van der Schanschlop was doing really well, I think it was like in the second or the third, points at his neck and starts being like, he's gonna choke, he's gonna choke. He didn't choke. But as a coach, how can you do that? That's not appropriate. Why are you doing
That's
that?
very inappropriate, and
Why are you doing
it
that?
wasn't like he was like Carlos didn't even fight back. First set 6-1 to Van der Schalp. How?
But you see, even when I saw that scoreline, I was like, oh, that's fine. It's Carlos. It's a 5-setter. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second set came in. I said, what's
7-5.
going on? I said, that's better. Let's see what's up. Third set.
6-4.
Carlos said that he's surprised that he's not strong enough mentally. He said that instead of getting stronger mentally, he's taking some steps back in that regard. He said that every time he loses, he's like, yeah, he needs to do some work and come back. But, like, he's not. It's, like, not happening. So he needs to, like, get serious.
He needs to actually do it, yeah. What I found funny was that Kokkinakis won his first round match and was so hype, but then again lost in straight sets in the second round.
That's
Him and
normal.
Kyrgios.
Nothing is surprising there.
But Kyrgios was convinced. He was like, this is Kokkinakis' like best shot at getting far in the US Open. And he didn't. So
he backs his boy though. Like, they're really close.
they're so close. I think second round was like the breakthrough for the player that we saw playing in the third round, Gabriel Giallo, because that's when he upset Arthur Fils in a 4-set match. So I think that was really the
that
breakthrough.
boy is 6 feet 8 inches tall. It's insane.
Massive. Yeah.
Round 3 as well, the defending Wimbledon champion lost, Krejcikova, which I was lovely. I loved that. I don't like watching her play, actually, like, at all.
That was like the most anticlimactic Wimbledon final ever. She won and then just like kind of walked across the court.
Not even in the same way that, like, Rebecca doesn't react. It was just like, I don't know, she sucked the life
Something
out of it
about
for me.
Rebecca and it gives like, oh, you just want, you know, she's feeling things, but you know, it's just not being expressed, right? So there's like an intrigue there. With Krejcikova, it was just kind of like, meh.
Yeah, and she lost
flat.
to a qualifier. So that was embarrassing. But something else something T-ish happened in round 3. With Kalinskaya and Haddad Maya and the video review that we were discussing earlier.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Kalinskaya was up 2-love. Haddad Maya hit a foul shot. Kalinskaya was like, I need a video review of this. And the umpire saw the video and chose for the call to stand. Now,
Yeah.
The video review is showed on all the screens in Louis Armstrong. The whole stadium sees it. Haddad Maya doesn't concede the point.
It was not a good look at all. And Kalinskaya was shocked.
Yeah, no, she was like shell shocked. Actually, she couldn't believe her eyes. I mean, Kalinskaya ends up losing 6-3, 6-1 or something. You can't. Can you blame the entire thing on that shot? I mean, that dispute. I don't know if that'd be fair. Like, as a tennis player, the mental part, you have to get over it and move on. You know what I'm saying? You can't. That was at 2-love up. Like, that wasn't. If you can't figure that out, then I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? But the USCA later came out and said that the umpire made the wrong call. But that the issue was that the angle only allowed the umpire to determine if there was a double bounce before Haddad Maya made contact. And there wasn't. But they weren't able to see whether or not the ball came off her racket and hit her side of the court before flying over the net, which is what Kalinskaya was saying, that it was a foul shot. It wasn't a double bounce issue. So it's like, okay, we have this video thing now, and it's still not really helping. I think what would be good, and I've seen some people say this as well, is if there was someone else off court reviewing it and calling into the umpire to be like, hey, this is what I've seen. Because it's going to be difficult for somebody to overturn their own call unless it's a clear cut, like, oh, I was wrong. Do you know what I mean? If it's something that's open to interpretation or an angle is influencing it, it's going to be difficult for somebody who's not 1,000% sure to be like, okay, no, I'm overturning the call. Let's give the point to the other player. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the path of least resistance would be to just be like, the call stands, you know? So bringing in another pair of eyes or someone else, I think would be good.
Yeah, I saw, people talk about this and they were like, what's the whole point of the video replay if the umpire is still going to make the wrong decision? Beatrice Haddad Meyer's like body language was also weird about it because she didn't really stick around for any discussion. She turned her back, walked right back to the baseline. I think she was back on serve. And Kalinskaya was just like her jaw dropped.
There was another point which Kalinskaya lost, and then the game went to Haddad Maya. Yeah.
I did read that Beatrice Haddad Maya experienced a loss before this tournament, and so she was grieving, and she was just trying to like lock in and get through the tournament. I think it was a member of her team who was supposed to have a baby, and unfortunately, they were twins, and only one made it. And so that's what she was dealing with. And so when I read that, it kind of
foul shot, though.
It changed my like impression of her body language. Like I feel like it might not have been like, oh, she just doesn't care, but maybe she really was just trying to get through this tournament because they were dealing with a loss back home. So
that's fair.
I think so.
Speaking of body language, Yulia Putintseva, the match that we watched versus Paolini and the ball girl controversy.
She had to issue a statement about it.
She did, because the ball girl is giving her the balls. I think you were looking down at the time that it happened. The ball girl was giving her the balls.
I saw the end of it.
Because you heard the people booing and looked up.
And then I asked what's going on, and I saw some drama.
So the ball girl is trying to give her the balls for her service, and she's just like standing there. Like and I don't believe her, because if you watch the video, she motions for the girl to give her the ball. She like does that head jerk thing, like, give me the ball. So for her to turn around and say that she wasn't focusing on what's going on, you just asked for the ball. So obviously you do know what's going on because you just asked her to give the ball to you. So you can't say that, oh, I wasn't focused. I was really pissed at myself for not winning the game because I had break point and I got empty with my emotions and deep in my thoughts. No. Anyway, again, I also want to refrain from making absolute judgment on people's character based on how they behave on court. But I will say that from the actions that Putintseva has exhibited in the past, that display is not out of line with the character that she has built for herself.
So this behavior, not shocking from her at all. I think she tried with the statement, but again, seeing the replay,
more than one statement, actually. They both sucked, though.
Yeah, I wasn't really buying the explanation. And She was being mean to the ball girl. Like, I don't mind when she's like having her little outbursts and it's like towards the other player because I feel like that's fair game. Like, that's your opponent. But the ball kids are just they're doing their job and their hair like literally looking
And
up
they're
to
so
all
excited
the
to
players.
be there. Yeah.
So I
it's
felt
not
like that
cool
was
at
really
all.
unfair.
It was a bit demeaning. It was quite demeaning.
It was demeaning. And then she lost to Jasmine Paolini.
Which I think was the issue, that she was losing. Djokovic lost to Alexei Popyrin, the 28th seed, who he just faced, I think, he's been facing
in that
him a lot
tournament
recently.
that Alexei took the title.
No, it's not possible. It's the first time he beat Djokovic, no. But anyway, I was walking down the street in New York. My sisters were taking me out for my birthday, and I hear like the squeak of a tennis court. I look over and one of the like drivers driving like the Suburban has like his full iPad on the dashboard. He's like parked, has his iPad on the dashboard, and he's watching the match. He's like, Djokovic is losing. I was like, what? My whole head goes into his car. We're watching the match together. It is crazy. Djokovic is losing. My sisters like indulged me for like maybe 3 minutes, and they're like, can you like, do you think it's appropriate to have your whole head in this man's car right now? I said, you know what? That's fair. Let's go. And I spent like the next 35 minutes at the place they took me to on my phone watching the match. I don't know, Djokovic just couldn't get it going.
I think he pushed so hard at the Olympics that he just doesn't have it.
He gave it everything. Yeah, doesn't have anything left in the tank
again. And that's admirable of him that he's able to like mentally switch on and like overcome everything in his path to get the win. But I think he can also choose when to do that. And he didn't choose to do that this time.
You think he chose to lose?
I think he chose not to fight through everything.
Round of 16, Navarro beat Coco again. Mind you, before 2024, Navarro had only one win at the Grand Slam level from like the 2023 Roland Garros or something. I don't understand this.
I mean, she's really had a good year.
God. Coco hit just 4 winners. 22 unforced errors in the third set alone.
I didn't like that she lost to Emma Navarro at all.
The worst part of the whole thing is that when she was down 3-5 in the third, you know those like big tennis balls that children get signed?
Yeah, the kids started coming down on the sides.
They all rushed down. And I'm like, that's actually so rude. Because what if she broke back for 4-5 and then served to 5-5 and then won the match? What are you doing down here? That has to be so demoralizing.
It's just like, it's disrupting the game because it's disrupting the match because you can see them come on the side and like suddenly there's like a whole sea of massive tennis balls to your right because Coco was serving, I believe.
Yep.
So it's distracting. And then if there was any chance of her coming back, okay, great. Now I have so much movement in the stands right next to me. So that's so unfortunate for her. I don't think the kids like obviously were malicious or not believing in Coco, but they're just obsessed. And I think the ushers were supposed to be like, no, you guys, you have to wait. Which they did move them afterwards. Coco asked for them to be moved.
The ushers, honestly, on Arthur Ashe are either like super on job or just like, yeah, you can sit on top of my head. I don't really care. Like, they don't care.
Super lax.
Yeah, there's like 2 extremes. The funniest thing happened on the ATP side of round of 16. Not funniest, but it's actually quite sad. Tommy Paul lost to Sinner. But in his presser, someone was like, so what did you feel about, Djokovic and Carlos going out early? Did you feel you have a chance? He was like, yeah, I mean, that was cool for everyone else. Their draws opened up. Mine didn't. I still had Sinner. And I was like, fair enough. I was like, fair enough. He is really funny. I was like, fair enough. Rublev lost to Dimitrov, which I know was probably harder for Dimitrov than it was for Rublev because they're in love with each other. So I'm sure he hated sending him home.
Yeah, and then also, well, not to skip, but like just on the topic of Dimitrov, watching him have to withdraw against Francis Tiafoe was so painful.
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a nice guy.
And nice looking too.
It was like painful to watch because You could tell, like, even if he was going to lose the match, he wanted to be able to fight it out. You know, he wanted that strong finish. And he
Yeah.
tried because he was injured and he kept coming back. He served a few. He returned, like, I think 1 or 2 games, and then he had to call it. And it was so disappointing
Yeah.
because I think Tiafo also wanted to fight to get into the quarterfinals.
To get into the semifinal, you mean?
Semifinals, yeah.
On the ATV side as well, in the quarterfinals, Taylor Fritz. Honestly, let me say something. I am very grateful that I was forced to stop hating on Taylor Fritz at Wimbledon after he beat Zverev, because since then, I've been loving his
He's been the
play.
one.
Did you think of the Olympics with Tommy Paul doubles? Came and beat Zverev again in the quarterfinals. And you know what's so funny? And honestly, I have been laughing about this since it happened. I don't remember if it was Renee Stubbs or Chrissy Everett, but one of them was doing an interview with Zverev and was trying to do, you know, the thing where they do like callbacks, like, oh, it's a rematch of the the rematch of the Wimbledon match. I don't know if it was quarterfinals or what it was at Wimbledon when Fritz beat him, but they're basically like, it's a rematch of Wimbledon, da da. And Zverev cuts them off and he's like, I was injured at Wimbledon.
Such an unlikable character. He lost because he's not a great player. And he will never win a.
As soon as Fritz won, I tweeted in all caps, cheer loud, ladies.
I mean, I was getting nervous because I was like, quarterfinals is just a bit too close for me. I was like, at some point, somebody needs to take out Zverev. And so Taylor Fritz stepped up to the plate and got it done.
I'm not going to lie, I wasn't sure that he could do it again, but he did.
I'm
And I was
never
very
sure that
grateful.
Taylor Fritz can play tennis. Even when I was watching him throughout this tournament, I don't know. The intensity
Yeah,
never seems to be there.
I feel you. I feel that. Pagula in the quarterfinals had Swiatek. She had also before that never gotten past the quarterfinal stage at a major. She was 0-6 in quarterfinals at
Wow.
majors. She had 3 wins over Iga, but had never beaten her at a major. So honestly, going into that match, nobody thought Pagula was going to do it, because Swiatek is the #1 seed. She's never won before. She has the quarterfinal curse. Beat her up.
Beat her
Beat
up.
her up.
6-2,
Beat her up.
6-4.
Swiatek was riddled with like unforced errors, and she just wasn't feeling the. I think it's that kit that she's been wearing. It's not cute. It's not cute enough
Yeah,
for the
sometimes
world
you
number
gotta look the
one.
part, and if you're not, like, it's hard.
But she said she still plans to play a full schedule, even though she's been complaining about how long the seasons are. Like when the reporters asked her, she was like, "Why?" She was basically like, "Why would I take time off? I'm not injured." And I was like, "Cause you told us that you said you did it."
Yeah.
Okay. Then in the semifinal, Pegula had Mushova, which I was quite nervous about, because I was like, "How is this gonna work?" Muhova took the first set in quite a decisive way, and when they asked, Pagula went on to win the match, but when they asked her about it, she was like, I was about to burst into tears because it was so embarrassing. And I was like, yes, I'm glad you know, because it was. As I was watching, I was like, Jessica, what are you doing?
But this is what I'm saying. She's like, these players who can find humor in these moments. Like, yes, you're honest. Like, it was embarrassing. I guess you can only say this because she won the match,
She
right? It's
won in the
only
end.
funny
Yeah, it
because
wouldn't
she
have been
came
funny
back and won.
otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been funny. It would have just been like just embarrassing. But this match was incredible because she was a set and I think a double breakdown or a breakdown, and then that's when she locked in, and from then on she took the match because it was looking like it was really leaning towards Muhova.
Exactly. It looked like it was done, 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 done. But the momentum
Um,
switched and Pagula took it all the way. I was quite chuffed to see that.
yeah, that's her mental strength kicking in. I think she is one of the, well, she's had such a long road to success, right? She's one of the more mature players on tour. She's 30 years old. And so she has a lot of experience with winning, a lot of experience with losing, and a lot of experience in having to hang in there through the tough moments. And I think that's what really got her through this US Open and on to the final.
Yeah, for sure. The semifinal, Fritz versus Tiafo. It was a really good match. I stayed up till like 3 a.m. watching it. When Fritz went up 4-11 the fifth, fans started leaving to go home, which is like, I feel like as a player, the player who's down, if you see that, it's probably like so demoralizing, because people feel like it's over and there's no way for you to come back.
Not just as a player. but for specifically Francis Tiafoe, who feeds off of like the crowd energy and like I don't even think it's something he can help. It's just the energy feeds him. That's how he is as a person. So to see that happening, it must have drained him even more.
He said, I want people who don't watch tennis to watch me. Like, he's very big on the fan experience and making sure that people are enjoying what they're watching. I will say, though, he had played 3 more hours than Fritz coming into that match. And he just hit a wall. And Fritz, like, capitalized on that. He's played him so many times. He leads their head to head. I think he was waiting for the moment that Tiafoe would slip up, and then he found it and really just, like, took it for all it was worth. Jack Draper was vomiting all over the court against Yannick Sinner.
That was crazy scene.
Yannick fell on his wrist. Like, this guy I follow on Twitter, tuned into tennis. He was like, it's looking like an urgent care out there. And I was like, no, literally.
No, they were falling apart by the time it was semifinals. Like,
Yeah.
whether internally and externally, like Draper was throwing up. What did he say he was sick with? Did he mention?
I didn't see that. I didn't see any mention of it. But it was a good match between Fritz and Tiafoe. I definitely enjoyed that. Sinner and Draper was a bit more straightforward. I mean, yeah. Then we got to the finals. And honestly, I never had a doubt in my mind that Arena was going to beat Pegula. Like, she led their head-to-head 5-2. She won their most recent meeting in Cincinnati. She's won 5 of their last 6 matches. So Pegula had reached her maiden Grand Slam, obviously, because she'd never been past the quarterfinals before. Made it all the way to the final. She'd won 15 of her last 16 matches. The one that she didn't win was to Arena. So I was like, like, you've never been on the stage before. Your only loss in the past 16 matches is to this lady. You're going home.
There was no reality in which Arina Sabalenka was making it back to this final and letting it slip away again. She was so disappointed after losing to Coco last year. I just knew that whoever she faced, she was coming with power, she was coming with aggression, and she was not losing that match. It didn't matter if it was Jessie, it didn't matter if it was Iga, it didn't matter who she was facing.
Yeah.
So I just felt like sorry for Jess Pegula because you made it this far, but this is kind of when it's going to stop. She was very much overpowered by Arena, who has...
For sure.
The fastest average forehand
she didn't stand
in the entire tournament, men or women.
Even faster than the men's, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah. Faster than Fritz, faster than Yannick Sinner, faster than Carlos Alcaraz. And there are haters who would say that that's because the men play with more spin. But I think it's just testament to her power and the way she controls and dictates the pace of the match. Like, it's very hard to deal with. Jessie did put up a good fight, though. Like, in the second set, I believe, she was leading at a certain point. She got 1 break. So she held in there. But then Arena was just like, I'm not letting this go, and took it.
I think even when Arena was trying to close out the match, it was a bit tricky.
Yeah, there were a few match points, and then the rallies went a bit longer. Jessie was definitely hanging in there. Yeah. And I was impressed with the way she handled the pace. Like, she was hitting it back to Arena very strong.
She's a very consistent player. She's a very consistent player, but she just doesn't have the power to match, unfortunately. Because it's one thing to absorb the pace, but it's another thing to, like, return the pace. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I don't think that she was, and she wasn't, like, crafty enough.
Where, and I think it has to do with, like, the new rules of the line calling, right? So I think she thought that she had a let. And the electronic line calling called it a fault, but she thought it was a let. I think she was just confused for a second as to whether the electronic line calling was calling lets or it was the umpire. So she went ahead and did another first serve. And ended up double faulting. And then she turned to her coach and said that she thought it was a first serve again because she thought it was a let. But she just laughed it off and continued. I don't think she kind of keeps moving on point by point. So if something goes wrong, she can, like, move on very easily, and I like that about her style of play. Like she doesn't kind of what's the word, like
Dwell.
dwell on the negative things that might happen. So
Okay.
both players also in the final had issues with their rackets and the tension. I know Jessie was saying that she turned to her coach and said that all her balls were landing in the service box, and she's tried every single racket in her bag. So
She wanted more depth.
yeah, and it wasn't working.
She likes hitting balls with depth. So on the men's side, it was Fritz versus Sinner, and Drake put a $210,000 bet for the American to beat Yannick Sinner, and he was like, he's continuing his record as the most daring sports bettor in history,
as the most dumb sports bettor in history, because there was no way, unless Yannick Sinner was physically ill, I just don't see how Fritz was going to take that
Yannick
final.
didn't even actually play that well. Fritz, in his presser after beating Tiafoe, was like, oh, I have a feeling I'm going to come out and play really well and win. As soon as he said that, I was like, forget about it. It's over. It's over.
Forget about it.
It wasn't even that good of a match. It wasn't like exciting at all. Yannick Sinner didn't even play that well. Like,
yeah, there were a few good points in like the last set where I felt like Fritz was really trying to hang in there. He had a lead for like a short moment, but Sinner closed that gap real fast. And I think the US Open crowd kind of, for the first two sets, they were evenly split. Like they were cheering for Yannick, they were cheering for Fritz. By the third set, I actually started to hear the crowd. I wasn't there. I was obviously watching on the TV, but you could tell the crowd was now cheering when Yannick Sinner double faulted. So they were kind of more on Fritz's side, trying to have him hang in there. But it was just too late. And Fritz was not serving well. And that's usually one of his big strengths. So
he needs to serve well. But yeah, that was the conclusion of the US Open singles. Which means that our dreams, nightmares, and realities, let's see how they stood up. First and foremost, I have to ask you, were you embarrassed by Coco losing to Emma Navarro? Because you said that your nightmare was Coco embarrassing you. Was that embarrassing for you?
It was disappointing, but not embarrassing, because I do think Emma Navarro has been in good form. So, unfortunate, but not embarrassing. I think Coco tried her best.
So that means your nightmare didn't come true.
No, it didn't come true. My dream also did not come true, because it was just never going to happen.
The reality is that Sabalenka took it, and we both said that. You also got the ATP reality right, saying that Sinner was taking it.
This is my first time getting anything right.
Yeah. You got both realities right. So I wanted to take a minute to commemorate that. My dream came true with Sinner winning. My reality was so far off because Djokovic was out in the third and Carlos was out in the second. But my reality on the women's side was that Sabalenka takes it. Yeah. So we both knew that Sabalenka was in it to win.
Your dream, Collins, to round 4 also did not happen. Hold on. No. My dream of an American player taking it also almost came true, because Fritz was in the final. And that's all I'm going to say. Next, doubles trouble.
That was never going to happen.
But it almost did.
Taylor Townsend teamed up with Donald Young for his last U.S. Open to play mixed doubles. He was a really hyped junior coming up. He only got to number 30 in the world, though. He had 3 top 10 wins, 1 top 5, which was over Andy Murray and Indian Wells. They're both from Chicago. Their families are really close. They reached the mixed doubles semis after defeating the defending champions, but ultimately lost in the final to Irani and her partner, Vavasori. That's actually Irani's first mixed doubles slam, her 6th Grand Slam title. She's 37 years old, by the way, Sarah Irani.
Yeah, I mean, the woman does not want to leave the sport. She even did fairly well in the singles. And so her winning the doubles is just like icing on the cake. She made some money this US
Yeah,
Open.
she was like knocked out of the water, though, in the 3rd round by Diana Schneider, who I just found out it's not pronounced Diana, it's pronounced Diana. That was shocking. But Townsend also made it to the semifinals with Siniakova, and they lost in the semifinal, but it is what it is. After their loss in the finals, Townsend made a speech, and she said, "This isn't the trophy we wanted, but she's the only black woman left in the tournament. There are 2 black men. She hopes that her and Donald standing there today, Frances being in the semifinals, Coco being the defending champion, shows people that look like them that it's possible. And people got so upset. They were like, she's erasing Serena and Venus's legacy. What about what they've done? Why is she making it about race? And I'm thinking, are two sisters from the same family doing well enough to prove to every Black person that it's possible for them?
Exactly. Like it's not enough. And one, we get to say when it's enough.
Yeah, like I don't think it's like I'm not even trying to diminish what Serena and Venus did at all. Like I think that they did amazing and have really paved the way and took a lot of crap that they shouldn't have had to deal with. But now that they have a lot of players coming behind them that look like them, will have a better experience. But that in no way means that we don't need representation anymore. I was really shocked by people's reactions to that. I was like, is there something that I'm missing here? What is the issue? What has she said that's wrong? It was crazy.
It doesn't diminish what they did, but it's not enough for all Black people all over the world to feel included in this sport. So I think what Taylor was saying was very fair. And I also think like it's very emotional given what Taylor has also been through as a Black woman, coming through the juniors, being like a prodigy, being on top of the juniors, and then coming into the pro tour and also facing more difficulty.
Being treated badly by the USTA and the McEnroe brothers,
who now want to like prop her up.
Every time I literally get the ick when I see the USTA tweeting about her. I'm not kidding. I get the ick
because they definitely traumatized her early on,
and I think they should acknowledge that. Like I think acknowledgement would be fine.
Acknowledge
anyway,
it.
Ostapenko won women's doubles with her partner. They won 12 sets. They didn't lose a set. They partnered up for the first time in 2013 for like an ITF tournament. They won. Then they played one tournament in 2018 and a couple in 2019. And they've been permanent doubles partners since 2021. And they finally won their first slam now. It was very cute. When they were doing like their post interview, her partner was saying how like at a moment where they needed to like really pull through, she turned to Ostapenko. She was like, "You are Yelena Ostapenko. You are the best."
And I was like, "Yes, Ostapenko, you are the best."
Yeah.
Sorry guys, this is my favorite player. I'm so hyped.
Yeah. Robin Montgomery and Clairvy Ngonwe unfortunately lost in the first round to Haddad Maya and Siegmund. Tough draw though. I think Siegmund is a really good doubles player. Unfortunately, I don't like her at all. But she's
tough
really
draw. I'm about to say, but I don't. Right now, I'm not liking either of them. Tough. While I tried my best to empathize with Haddad Maya, I'm not gonna lie. The situation with what's her name? Kalinskaya did rub me the wrong way. And so now her pairing with Siegmund, who's just like a known cheater and like manipulator, is just not a good vibe.
It's not a vibe. But stepping into the players box really quick, Serena Williams was back, not black in Flushing Meadows. She was black in Flushing Meadows, but she was back in Flushing Meadows for the US Open.
This time promoting her new brand Win.
Yeah. As we mentioned, US Open is the marketing slam. So we saw a lot of influencers getting sponsored seats. But what we also saw Serena doing, which I don't think was appropriate at all as a married woman with 2 children, was cheering for her ex, Dimitrov, like he was the last man playing tennis in the world. I was like, please sit down, Serena. Don't do this.
I feel like they were even locking eyes, like from the court to the stands. Like it's
very ridiculous.
Crazy scenes.
She gave Iga a pep talk, which didn't help her, unfortunately.
It was cute, but it's just
she gave Frances a pep talk as well. Her and Frances and Fritz did like a group hug that was very, very cute in the tunnel. Caroline Wozniacki complained that she didn't come and watch her match. It was very cute. I think everybody like enjoyed having Serena around. The players that got to see her were like super hyped. Pegula was happy.
She's
that
definitely
she
mother.
Match.
Like
yeah, exactly.
And it's one of those situations where if you have something negative to say, you just probably shouldn't say it because nobody wants to hear that.
So you got it. Period.
That's mother.
A bit of networthy news. The U.S. Open surpassed 1 million attendees for the first time. It's an 8% increase. Tennis is in. Don't be left out. That's what I keep saying.
Yeah, they had some issues with with like just the logistics of the amount of people on the grounds. I know for
Yeah.
sure, like with the changeover from the day session to the night session.
Yes. It was so difficult getting in.
The line was apparently like an hour long.
Yes. It's crazy. I mean, I kind of like cut the line, can't lie. But it was very
Ghanaian.
long. It was very, very long.
Ghanaian. We
Yeah, my
won't stand in
Ghanaian
the
jumped
line,
out.
please.
Yeah, I had to figure it out.
There just must be a way.
Yeah. It didn't really work. It didn't really work. But it was fine. I mean, it was cool. When there was like run over from the day session, it made it quite difficult, I will say that.
Yeah.
Court couture, Pagula did not like the Adidas kit. And she like didn't wear it with the sleeves. She was like, it had to grow on her. They were going for more of a statement. She didn't like it at all. She didn't like it.
It
She
looked
didn't like it.
physically uncomfortable. Like it looked like you'd be trying to hit your
With the
forehand and
cutouts and
this spandex is just tugging at you.
yeah.
So I didn't really understand what Adidas was trying to do with that and why they expected them to actually wear it while playing.
Donna Vekic like absolutely floored me when it comes to court couture because she was wearing this diamond tennis necklace, and I think Blair Henley asked her a question about it, and she was like, her strategy is to blind her opponents. What? Why did she say that?
And I love it because she definitely just got a big check and she went straight to the diamond dealer. Okay.
She also made it to the second week of the U.S. Open for the first time in 5 years. Shows up to week 2, had cut bangs.
And she was like in the media room. She said, guys,
she said, is nobody going to ask me about my bangs? I just cut them. I was like, what is wrong with this lady? In terms of tennis girlfriend looks, I think overall, Morgan Riddle won for the most part. But her look in the final, I didn't like at all. It gave very much Wimbledon. What? It gave very much like Connecticut Easter lunch. It wasn't fitting for the U.S. Open.
She said that on her TikTok. She was like, it's all white with the little diamonds and very like classy like Wimbledon. She could have given us more edge for US Open, but I did not like the fit. It just was a Wimbledon vibe.
It was a nice outfit. It wasn't appropriate for the US Open final though. She didn't eat. It wasn't appropriate for the US Open final, I don't think.
Yeah.
What did you think of Osaka's custom kit though, with the bows?
Definitely prefer the night version to the day version.
Really? I like the green.
And you like the green better than the black and white? I like the black and white better.
I feel like the green made more sense with all the bows.
Conceptually, I thought the sketches were cool. It was by Yoon Ambush, I think.
Yeah, it was. She did a collaborate with Nike Woman.
Yeah. It also gave me the vibe that it's one of those things, like Naomi said that she doesn't mind being uncomfortable on the court, and I was wondering if she meant like uncomfortable in terms of the style, like being pushed into new styles, or if she meant like a little bit of discomfort while playing.
So when she first walked out with that bigger skirt, I was like, how are you playing in this? But then she took the bigger skirt off.
Yeah, I was like, fine. At this stage in your comeback, you don't really have room to be just being uncomfortable with your fashion. We need to focus on the task at hand.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. I think it would have been better if she had gone further. I don't know if she should have done all that to exit in round 2. I think we should have.
Yeah. Maybe she should have started like simple and then once like past round 3, pop out. Showing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But anyway, it is what it is.
But Coco finally got it correct.
Yes. Yeah.
From the length of the skirt, the cut of the dress, the color also looked great on her, like that.
With the neon, kind of with the neon touches.
Baby blue neon touches. It looked great and it was just perfect for US Open. So I'm happy.
And Wilson also had a neon moment that I really enjoyed.
Wilson, I mean, top looks. They don't have top players. That's the issue.
Okay. Well,
So we ain't seeing Wilson past round 2, which is unfortunate because I think they definitely had one of the best dresses of the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, we have to give credit where credit is due. Fila also had a little cute look going on that Navarro was wearing.
I liked that.
It was very classic, but it was cute. And it was cute for Fila.
I think it would have made more sense at Australian Open, though. I didn't really see it for US Open. It gave me more Australian
Open. The all white?
It was like off-white. It was like cream, kind of.
It was like a cream, yeah.
Yeah,
but I was impressed by the look.
Yeah, it was cute. It was cute.
There's nobody else that's really standing out to me fashion-wise right now.
Not really. Not really. So that brings us to next on tour. We have on the WTA side the Guadalajara Open, which is a 500, the Korea Open, which is a 500, and the Thailand Open, which is a 250. On the ATP side, they have a bunch going on with the group stage Davis Cup finals. Some people are playing in Bologna, some people are playing in Valencia, some in Zhuhai, some in Manchester. There's also the Chengdu Open, which is a 250, the Hangzhou Open, which is a 250, the Laver Cup, where Nadal is coming back to play for Team Europe, is happening this month as well. So we'll be reviewing those when we come back in 2 weeks. I'm looking very
so
much
it's kind of
forward
like
to
the
that.
season is coming to a close with these
slow
last
close.
few
I mean, there's the
tournaments.
Asian swing, but yeah.
Yeah. I know on the women's side, they have about 4,000 points left up for grabs between the 500s, the 250s, and like I think they have 2 more 1,000s. And then
I think Yannick has pretty much secured the year-end number 1. I think Sabalenka has a chance to overtake Iga, but I'm not sure. We'll see.
Actually, it could be possible if 4,000 points are up for grabs. But let's see how Iga comes back in her next tournament. And then also these points will determine who else is qualified for not just year-end number 1 and stuff, but like Turin and Riyadh. The ATP and WTA finals, which we will touch on in our next episode.
For sure. So for now, that's Game Set Chat.
See you guys next time.